to BioLab's B.empowered podcast series, coming to you live from Bio International in San Diego. I am Joanna Michela, and I'm the Regional Director for Europe at BioLabs. And here is where purpose-driven science meets global ambition, one conversation at a time. So let's go. In today's episode, I'm very pleased to welcome Catherine Zhang from Carlton Fields. Welcome, Catherine.
Thank you so much. It's a real pleasure to be here. So my name is Catherine Zhang, and I'm a partner at Carlton Fields. So I work with all kinds of size of companies working on the corporate side, from company formation or governance, merger and acquisitions, venture financing, and lots of cross-border work. So one of my biggest life practices is biotech. So a lot of biotech, bioscience, and also medical device companies. And a little bit about my firm. So Carlton Fields is a full-service firm, and it was founded in 1901. And we have several hundred lawyers in 12 offices across the country. And we have a strong litigation practice, and I work in the corporate and business transaction world, and I love it. Just a little bit more about my background. I think that makes me a little bit different from most of the corporate lawyers. It's because I studied chemistry before I went to law school. So I was in PhD program for almost 3 years. I graduated with a master's degree. So that's why when I talk to founders and when they go through their technologies, I'm not just nodding my head. I actually love it.
You actually
So
understand?
I actually understand it and I love it. And that's one of the biggest reasons why I'm passionate about my work.
Excellent. And so,
Thank you.
do you work a lot with early stage biotech companies? And if you
Yes.
do, like what are the most critical legal foundation you think they need to have in place, or the most critical points you help them with actually at
That's
this
a
very
great
early
question.
stage?
There are a lot.
Yeah.
So I will start with the foundation. So setting up the company in the right way. Delaware C Corporation is the way to go. So it's like you're building a house, you're pouring the foundation. Once you have the right foundation, and then everything just builds on top of it. The second one is very important for life science company is the IP ownership. Because a lot of companies are spin-off of a lab that's affiliated with universities. I've worked with a lot of companies or startup founders who are affiliated with Harvard, MIT, Mass General Hospitals, Boston universities. And there's one thing in common. All the IPs initially belong to the university. So the founders need to make sure that the technology actually belongs to the company when they are ready to meet with the investors. And also all the employees, I would say independent contractors, advisors, even founders should sign their IP rights over to the company. So clean IP ownership. And I will also say clean cap table is also important because investors do not like messy cap table at early stage. And I've seen that a lot. And someone has a 2% for their friend who offer a nice piece of advice and 3% for a family who invested $10,000. Once you offer that without any restriction, then it's really hard to take it back. And also just, founders, and they like to do a handshake over coffee, and they don't have any vesting schedules. And what if in 6 months someone leaves the company and then they leave, they also still own a big chunk of equity in the company? It's really hard to untangle it. So I think that's probably the most important legal foundations. Also the shortfall I see sometimes when founders come to me, 83B election.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So make sure your cap table is clean
Yes.
and understood by each one of the shareholders, right?
Right.
And your IP protected. Most of the founders that we see in our BioLabs incubator network are extremely driven by purpose, right? What they develop is not just science. It's not just a company that is supposed to make money at some point. It's a project to solve real patient problems. And so, how do you help those purpose-driven founders? Like when you actually talk about the shareholders agreements or IP strategy? How do you incorporate this purpose-driven mission into those discussions?
That's a great question because this is real. And I think a lot of founders who come out of places like biolabs are not just in it for the money or the exit. And there's a purpose behind it, and there's patience on the other end. So it's not a wish, or I would tell the founders, mission is not just a dream or wish that I wish that would keep it. You can actually protect it through IP strategy or founders agreement or investment agreements. So let me start with the IP strategy. What I'm thinking that strategy as protecting is not just the assets, it's also the intent. So for example, when founders negotiate license agreement with big pharma partner, well, you could build in some terms that protect the mission. For example, you could say, field of use restrictions, the diligence obligation that requires big pharma partner to actually invest and develop the technology the founder started with. If not, then the founders can take the IP rights back. Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes.
And give it to someone else who will.
Exactly.
Right?
Yes. So we want to make sure that the IP rights and the mission is actually going to build and develop, not just sitting on someone's desk or portfolio. So that's the IP strategy. In terms of the governance, I would say early on, make sure there's some sort of like board control of the founder, some founders' decision rights. For example, we always try to negotiate strong protective provision for the founders. If the investors really want to change the line of the business, and then the founders has a veto right. The founder could say that's not what we want. So those are the things that we should plan early on when founders are really facing stress or pressure of raising money and scaling. They already had those protections early on. So that's how I vision it. And I would say a lot of times the legal document is just a protection, but the real protection should be choosing the right partners, the right investors, right? And we make sure that your values are aligned.
And the right lawyer too.
Right lawyer too. I like that. Yes.
Okay. Our founders also at some point faced the challenge of expanding internationally, right? It's a necessity in their development. This always comes with complex legal issues and challenges, from regulatory approvals to licensing strategies, including abroad. What do you think are the 2-3 things a founder must prove before they actually expand internationally?
I love that question because I do a lot of cross-border international deals or transactions. I help with a lot of companies entering the U.S. market and also U.S. companies trying to reach globally. One thing I see in common, which you already touched on, is that the founders work with the right experts, the lawyers who have experience in this cross-border transaction work, and also tax experts who understand international taxation. Same thing, back to the IP protection, because that's the core of a biotech company. And I always tell the founders, you need to think about this early on. Where do you see yourself or your company in 2 years or 5 years, right? Do you want to manufacture in this country or do you want to sell in those countries? Because you want to make sure that you secure the IP rights early on. The patent rights are territorial. For example, if you have a patent in the US, that's only going to give you protection in the US, nowhere else, right? So if you want to expand to China, you want to know when should I file patent protection and what kind of enforcement that I'm looking at after if there's any misappropriation or any kind of infringement. So you want to think about those things early on so you don't lose the rights by exposing or publishing your technology without any protection. So that's one thing. Number two is thinking about the right structure. Because there are different ways to structure your foreign corporation, right? You could do a joint ventureship. You could open up a subsidiary. And a lot of my international clients in the past would favor the VIE structure, which you have a Cayman Island, right, offshore holding company, and different holding company in different regions. And then there's also you could also license out to someone who's already on the ground. So there are many different ways to structure this, but each structure comes with different tax implications and different protections and different liabilities and level of control. So make sure you talk about this and your mission and your vision to the right person, understand fully about the tax implication. A lot of funders do not pay too much attention to the tax implication, but later on, it will be too hard to reverse it, or the damage is already done. So,
Right. And it's going to be looked closely at by the next investors they're going to talk to, right?
Yes.
So they better be ready to answer those
Exactly.
questions.
There's one more thing I think it's founders tend to underestimate is to find the right partner. Because you heavily rely on your local partner to expand in this geography because you don't know well about the location. So this is a real example. I represented a big Chinese company who wanted to expand in the US. They found a brilliant, perfect on paper scientist slash executive. A year down the road, the relationship broke up. Not only now they're in court litigating against each other, the Chinese parent company couldn't even access the bank account here in the US. So make sure you find the right partner, also have the right terms to protect the level of the control you want to have. So yeah, again, legal protection is important, but the real protection is to actually think about like who you want to work with.
Who are your partners?
Yes,
Indeed.
exactly.
Coming back to the theme of this podcast series, which is driven by purpose, what does that mean, driven by purpose, to you personally, to your organization? How does this translate actually in your work with early stage companies?
When I think about being driven by purpose, I think about care. A lot of my clients will come and say that you care about us, and I genuinely care about my biotech scientific founders. And I think this care shows about not only I'm just serving as their legal counsel, I'm documenting the legal terms. You give me a term sheet, and then I'll tell you those are the comments. I see them as my business partner, or even my family, and I want to be part of their team to begin with. And I don't want to cause any complexity to their already existing daily life, right? By talking about legal jargons, right? Like all the legal words and scare them off. I want to be able to help. So I will serve as a translator, and I would tell my founders, this is what you should think about, which makes sense, and those are the things that don't make sense, so they can make good decisions. So I want to be a partner to them. I'm also very honest with my founders, clients, or friends, or potential clients. I want to see where they are right now and where they want to be in 5 years or 3 years. If they don't need us, I will be very strict with them. I don't want to spend legal fees with us. Or sometimes they will be very honest with me. We have some financial issues until we raise the initial funding. So I will come up with an alternative fee solution. So we offer some deferred payment schedules, etc. So again, it's a partnership. It's caring, and also I don't think driven by purpose has something to do with a fee attached. So beyond all of that, just like what Biolabs has been doing, offering those amazing series, right? And also mentorship. I also serve on a lot of nonprofit boards. I spend a lot of time in the community work and also mentoring entrepreneurs, serving on the board of Asian Women for Health.
Okay.
Just, like spending time volunteering.
Extremely important. It's called
Yeah.
being part of the village, right? Because it
Exactly.
takes a village to
Exactly.
build to bring those projects up to actually a treatment to the patients.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Catherine, for joining us on this podcast. Thank you for all the inspirational advice to our founders and to our community.
Thank you so much. I had so much fun and a great setting. Thank you.